This right next to me is a Mercedes-Benz 600 SEL V12, the most powerful and luxurious limousine from the 1990s, and widely regarded as the last true Mercedes-Benz in relation to its engineering achievements, and it was also the model that set back Mercedes-Benz $1 billion in development. And this was the very first Mercedes to feature a V12 engine, and this powertrain was so significant it was used in the Pagani Zonda as well as other Mercedes-Benz racing cars and AMG variants from the 1990s. And in this review I'm going to tell you everything you need to know, so this might come in handy if you're thinking about purchasing a W140, or maybe you're a Mercedes enthusiast and you want to learn about this model series. So first we're going to start off with a brief overview about the W140, then we're going to move on to its options, then talk about the exterior design, then move on to the interior, and then we're going to have a look at that V12, and then finally I am going to take it out for a drive. Let's start the video talking about a brief overview about the W140. So in 1992, the S-Class was available in two versions, the SE short wheelbase along with the SEL long wheelbase, with the choice between an inline 6-cylinder along with two V8s, and of course the V12, which is the variant I am featuring in the video. And back when this particular car was new, it had a price tag from around 350,000 Australian dollars. And in relation to the S-Class's options, it was available with a wide choice of paint finishes, along with a wide variety of interior colours and wood trim surrounds. And depending on the market and year model, you could also option for a rear sunshade, along with free wheel designs, heated front and rear seats, along with a 2+2 rear seat setup. And finally, the W140 was also offered as a coupe known as the C140, and that was available in either a V8 or a V12, with a price tag from around 400,000 Australian dollars. So let's now move on to the question why the W140 costs so much to produce. Well, development started in 1981, originally set to launch in 1988. However, in 1986, BMW introduced the E32 7 Series, and it was offered with the M70 V12 powertrain, making it the first post-war German passenger car fitted with a 12-cylinder engine. And Mercedes did not expect this from BMW, so they were forced to delay the introduction of the W140 by 18 months. And this allowed Mercedes to develop the new M120 V12 and rearrange the engine bay to fit the larger powertrain. And as a result, Mercedes-Benz spent around $1 billion to the development. And this meant the W140 was the last over-engineered Mercedes to ever be signed off. And it's also worth mentioning that this generation S-Class also introduced some noteworthy innovations like BAS brake assist system, along with ESP electronic stability control, automatic rain sensing windscreen wipers, and double glazed soundproofing glass. And towards the end of production, the W140 also received parking sensors, adaptive cruise control, xenon headlights, and satellite navigation. Let's now move on to the exterior. So the W140 was designed by Bruno Sacco, who was responsible for some of the greatest Mercedes-Benz designs like the C111 and C222, the R129 SL, the W201 and W126, and the W140 was a lot more streamlined than its predecessor, the W126, and in relation to the example I am showing you, it is finished in brilliant silver metallic, and in relation to its key features, up the front it has Bosch halogen headlights along with orange indicators, a chrome radiator grille, and a Mercedes-Benz emblem on the bonnet, and also a two-tone bumper bar combination, so the bottom section is a darker silver to the top section, whereas the later versions of the W140 received clear indicator lights along with a revised bumper bar and radiator grille. And moving towards the side view of the W140, as you can see, this example is sitting on 16-inch alloy wheels. They are the classic Mercedes 8-hole design, and as you can see, the front facing has a slightly chromy brushed aluminium look to it, and it also features electric folding mirrors, a two-tone paint finish on the body cladding, chrome along the door seals along with chrome door handle inserts, and finally a V12 badge on the two C-pillars. And moving towards the rear design of the W140, as you can see, these earlier variants received the classic Mercedes-Benz fluted taillight design, and the taillight designs themselves resemble a 124 E-Class, and as a result the rear end of the W140 looks more coupe-like opposed to the boxy shape like what's seen on the W126. And there's also a bit of chrome on the bumper bar, and like on the front and the side, it features the two-tone colour combination And on the corners, there are two metal rods that extend out, providing the driver with assistance for parking. And lastly, styling is subjective, so write down your feedback in the comment section below of what you think of the W140's design. Let's now move on to the cabin inside the W140. So before you climb inside, you have a remote key that you need to point at the door handle, and green means unlock and red means lock. And when you shut the doors, you'll notice that they self-close using a vacuum system that sucks them in if you don't close them properly. And finally, the key slots right into the ignition, firing up that big V12. And first impressions inside the W140, the overall design by modern day standards is very plain. However, compared to other rivals like the BMW 7 Series, the Jaguar XJ, and the very first Lexus LS, the interior in the S-Class was regarded as the most modern and most luxurious, and also featured more high quality materials and better ergonomics. This example is finished off in leather blue, so blue dashboard, blue carpets and blue leather, and complemented by burl walnut timber trim, which looks very well preserved, and all of the switches feel really nice to press and toggle with, and even the top roof lining, it feels like this velvet carpet material. And the whole interior cabin, considering this is a 32-year-old car, everything still feels high quality. The dashboard materials, even if you look lower down where you normally find plastic, and even the leather still feels nice and soft. You have a soft and squidgy armrest, and even the top surfaces of the door panel feels good. You have this puffy leather material, and the section where you rest your elbow, that feels very good as well. And lower down, that is soft to the touch, as well as carpet on the bottom of the door section. Both the front row seats are wrapped in perforated leather, and they also offer electric adjustment with memory and lumbar support for both the front passenger and driver. The gear selector is also wrapped in leather and burl walnut timber, which is a unique design element of the V12 variant. And finally, you have an electrically adjustable 4-spoke leather wrapped steering wheel that feels very good to hold in the hands, and it also offers electric tilt and reach adjustment. This car also has double glazed windows on all 4 doors, so that means inside with the doors shut and the engine running, there is no noise even at high speed. And if we move on to the main panel here, as you can see, the 600 features 4-zone climate control, and again digital instrumentation, which was very high tech back in its day. And looking lower down, this car features its original Becker Mexico stereo system with both AM, FM and a cassette player, and it also features a 10-stacker CD changer in the boot, along with a 14-speaker stereo system, which by modern day standards still sounds pretty good. And you've got volume adjustment towards the center. And in relation to other key features, up ahead of me is a power sliding sunroof with tilt operation. And if we open up the sun visors, as you can see, there is a set of vanity mirrors. And if we look lower down, you've got a button for the suspension, electric window switches and mirror controls. And if I just toggle this switch here, as you can see, you can operate the revision mirror electronically. And on the left hand side is the stalk for the indicator and the cruise control, and on the right hand side is where you would find the light switch along with a manual operated parking brake. And moving towards the center is a 5-gauge instrument cluster. So towards the center is a speedometer going all the way up to 260, and on the right hand side is your rev counter along with an analog clock, and on the left hand side a fuel gauge along with your temperature, oil pressure and a fuel consumption reader. And lastly, moving on to storage, we'll start with the glove box. If I just open that up, it reveals a decent size, and it also has a little pen holder along with coin holders for toll booths, a small cup holder, and the whole tray is felt lined. And over here is an ashtray along with a 12-volt socket. And you've also got additional storage on top of the dashboard. And moving towards the center, you have an adjustable leather wrapped armrest, and when you open it, it reveals some more burl walnut timber trim, and when you slide that open, it reveals a decent amount of storage, again belt lined. And lastly, you have door pockets, which aren't really useful for anything, but you do have these hidden door sections here. So if you open this, it reveals belt lined storage that goes down pretty deep. Let's now move on to the back seat. So all variants of the 600 V12 came in SEL form, and what that meant for passengers, they received an additional 10 centimeters of legroom. It doesn't sound like much, but as you can see, there is loads of knee room, loads of toe room and loads of headroom. Also specific to the V12, you have extended timber that runs along the B-pillar and on the doors as well. Even the ashtray cover is finished off in burl walnut timber. And also, in addition to the V12, these rear seats can recline backwards and forwards electronically with the switches on the door panels. So that means you can just relax, sit back and cruise around in comfort. And the headrests also go up and down electronically using the switch on the dashboard panel. And in relation to other key features, behind the front seats you have a set of map pockets, directional air vents in the center, and up the top here a set of vanity mirrors for both the left passenger and the right passenger. On the top section here, that is where you are going to find the first aid kit. Nice to see that is still in the car. There are also some reading lights on the top hand corners of the seat pillars. And on the door here, you have some storage that goes down pretty deep. And over here, a fold down armrest wrapped in leather with a storage compartment that is felt lined. And as you can see, also reveals two small cup holders. Let's now move on to the boot. So if you just push this chrome button here, this tab pops out and you lift up the boot like that, and as you can see there is a nice wide opening and 525 litres of boot capacity, so large enough for two large suitcases. So for a long journey this car would be very ideal. And the whole boot lining is finished in blue carpet, which looks very bespoke. And if we have a look around, as you can see, this example features its original warning triangle, and on the left hand side you will notice that this car has a 10 CD stacker in the boot. And this is what the actual CD cartridge looks like. And if we dig lower down, this car features a full-size spare tyre along with its original jack and set of tools for the spare wheel. And as you can see, this car features all of its original factory literature, and it's nice to see after 32 years it still features all of its original service documentation, including the two original keys and the case it came with when it was delivered. And lastly, the boot itself closes. Okay, let's now move on to the powertrain. So under the bonnet of the 600 SEL features the highly regarded M120.980 power plant. And it is a 48 valve, 6 litre naturally aspirated V12 that is paired to a 4-speed transmission, sending power to the rear wheels. And in addition to that, the W140 also sits on hydraulic shock absorbers. And this engine produces around 300 kilowatts of power and 580 newton meters of torque. And as a result, it can reach 0 to 100 in 6 seconds and a top speed limited to 250 kilometers per hour. And you really have to appreciate the detail and craftsmanship that went into designing the actual V12. I think personally this is one of the best looking engine blocks Mercedes ever produced. And there was also another variation of this exact engine block tuned by AMG and known as M297. And this powertrain was used across many AMG V12s from the 1990s, like for example the SEL 72 AMG, and also used in AMG racing cars, like for example the Mercedes CLK GTR. And the M297 was also used to power the Pagani Zonda, which was one of the fastest road-going cars from the early 2000s. So as a bit of a wrap-up without confusion, M120 used in their saloons and M297 tuned for performance by AMG, used in a lot of performance cars and racing cars. So what is this like on the open road? Well, as you would expect, like any S-Class, what is amazing is how silky smooth the engine is after 32 years of age, and how responsive and powerful it feels. To describe the ride experience, it's wafty. Basically wafts around the road. It hasn't been set up for dynamics, but you do have the power at your disposal. So if I lightly hit the accelerator, when you put your foot down in this, it just flies. And considering this does weigh over 2 tons, it doesn't feel as heavy as I thought it would be, because it pretty much feels like a rocket ship if you hit the accelerator pedal. In comparison to a V8, which I have driven, and I've also driven a 300 SE and plus S320s, you name it, I've driven quite a few W140s. If you are going to commit to maintaining one, and I know a lot of people have said stay away from the V12s, all of them are going to cost a bit of money, so you may as well buy the best, which is the S600, because it is the most powerful, it is the most refined. And what I was really surprised about, this weighs just over 2 tons, and it doesn't feel as heavy as like I thought it would be. If you want the most refined, the most luxurious, and of course that extended wheelbase, and pretty much the best W140 ever, well, I think you've got to go with the V12. So what is my final verdict on the W140 Mercedes S-Class? It may not be the coolest looking classic car to own, nor the funnest to drive dynamically. However, it offers a lot of performance and refinement for the money, and it'll always be regarded as one of the best Mercedes-Benz models ever produced. So I hope you've gained value from this video, and if you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more of my car related content, and I will see you in the next film. Thanks for watching.